So welcome to this live demo in relation to streamlining fee estimating and forecasting for architects and engineers. I'm Jack, one of the sales consultants at CMap. So for those of you that aren't already a client, I understand that we have a mixture of potential clients interested in CMap and existing CMap clients. But for those of you that aren't familiar with CMap, just a quick introduction. We've been working with architects and engineers for over 15 years. So from like large international giants like Bjarke Ingels Group and Grimshaw, and lots of architects that have global operations and different offices in different parts of the world. Then lots of very successful growing firms as well. We're often voted the easiest software to use, or in this example, it's the project-based ERP category in G2's summer round of voting. It was a similar story in winter as well, more recently, significantly ahead of the likes of Uninet and Deltek. So and often when we get feedback from existing clients and clients that start to use CMap, they'll say that it's more intuitive and easy to use than whatever they used previously to track and manage their projects. So CMap can do a lot more than just fee estimating and forecasting. So from CRM, quoting and creating proposals, winning projects and tracking them, doing time, expenses, resourcing, adding consultant costs, generating invoices, integrating with the likes of Xero, QuickBooks and Sage for accounting. But today we're really going to focus on setting up a project and how to calculate and forecast fees and some of the reporting and dashboards around that. So in terms of today, what I'm going to do is add a project using a fee estimator template. I'm going to combine a percentage of a construction cost approach and building up hours in the same fee-driven template. Then I'm going to create a probability adjusted fee forecast using some of the auto populate and auto schedule tools within CMap. And then finally, just touch upon some visual dashboards that are available and reporting around this as well. So I'm going to sign into one of our demo versions. Now, if anyone has any questions, just pop them into the Q&A section, and I'll keep an eye on that as we go through this, and I guess I can answer any questions as we go through, or we can cover some other ones at the end. So feel free to just drop any questions into the chat as we go through this. Okay, thank you. So here's the demo version. What I was just doing there is within projects. Okay, and here I can add a new project. So we can say this is now a proposal. What I was just doing there is typing in a project title, the company name within the CRM will link to it, and the company contact. Okay, so then we can say sector, project type. So at this point, we're just filling out information that CMap is requiring us to fill out, and you can determine what your required fields are. There's some other custom field groups examples within this demo of information that we might want to fill out later and do some reporting on. Okay, so I'm going to go to the fee estimator next, and I can choose one of these fee-driven templates. Okay, so I'll choose this 2-year percentage-driven approach for the AIA phases. So I'm based in the US. So in the UK, if obviously you might have the RIBA work stage templates, but whatever deliverables that you work to, you can call the work stages or phases whatever you need to call them. If you add an additional phase or work stage for, let's say, a variation or additional services, it allows you just to free type in what you want the additional stage to be called. And you can choose whether each of these are a percentage fee type, which we've got in this particular template. They could just be simply fixed fees, or they could be time charge or hourly phases, because you might want to build up the fee based on projections of hours. There's a number of different ways in which you can do that within CMap. This particular template I chose is going to do a percentage of an overall fee, which may be determined from a construction cost. So that would be the quickest way to get a fee forecast into the system. If you have an idea what the total fee might be, or if you know what an estimate of the construction cost to start with. Let's say in this case the construction cost was 8 million and the fee percentage is 6%. So here we have a 480,000 fee that's now been broken down across these different phases. So 480,000 total, broken down by 10, or 15, 10, 45, 30. And again, you can determine what your percentages are. The template also included, well, the start date from when I entered the project. And each work stage or phase has a duration in weeks attached to it. So we've got 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12, 10, 80. And that basically draws an estimated timeline for you in the timeline, which you can manipulate and drag and drop and move around. I'll come back and explain how to do that in just a moment. But in terms of just doing a very early forecast, because you've got those time frames in already, what we can do is spread this 480,000 fee across the month, and we can just expand the invoice schedule to do that. We have a 480,000 project fee and no scheduled fee. So I'm just going to auto populate, and that will spread that across those months automatically. And that will be a probability adjusted 25% in all of the forecast reports. When you win the project, you just change the probability to 100%. So also in this fee estimator, we have the resource profile estimate section. The fee plan target section is simply looking at it's creating a budget for you based on, in this case, a 15% profitability target. So we've got a 408,000 budget broken down across these different phases. So in this particular template, we have 3 roles that have been loaded in and no hours or days. You can plug in days or hours depending on your preference. Let's just say in this example, we're estimating 100 hours for a design leader, 160 hours for a project architect, 200 hours for a project designer. The cost of that time adds up to a number, in this case, 59,820 based on the cost rates that we have in this particular demo version. So each role has an average cost rate as well as an individual employee. If perhaps we'd have overestimated these hours slightly, we might get a warning just to say that that number now is more than the budget should be, and therefore you'd make less than 15% profit. But that's just to explain what this section is here. But we won't go into the resourcing in this particular demo today. And we'll focus just on the fees, but this resource profile is where we can sort of start to enter budgets of hours that then you can spread across the timeline in the resource schedule. And that's if you have the pro version of CMap, this resource schedule. but we won't get into that today. Let's maybe looking ahead, and actually we might think that 4 weeks is a little bit short for this particular project for this first phase. We're probably not going to complete all of the work in March. So we can go ahead and actually, well, you could adjust the dates here, of course. You can move these dates around, or what we can do within the timeline is just simply drag and drop. So we might say that that is now 8 weeks, and we can zoom into the specific day, and then we can drag and drop and move the rest of the phases around as well. So you can either look at the month view, which is the most zoomed out, day, or the week view as well. So again, we can just push this along, and then any adjustments that we make to this timeline can be just re-auto synced when it comes to creating a forecast. So at the moment, we have this projected fee schedule, and now we've manipulated the timeline. Some of these numbers are going to change. So rather than it being 72,000 within the month of March, it's broken that into March and April for you. And then design development is going to start before the end of April, and it's broken down across 3 months. Again, you can make some adjustments to that as and when you need to. Okay. Oops. Let's get rid of these slides. There we go. Okay. So coming back to this fee estimator then, let's say if this project is looking more likely than 25%, what you could do is just increase the probabilities, and that will basically increase the weighted projections in the pipeline. And then, yeah, if we perhaps go to some of the reports and dashboards now, just to show you where this project is and how to see it effectively, we can go to the reports. And here in the standard reports, I have this forecast calendar. And this is going to show me all of the live projects that are in this particular demo version and the fees forecast for each individual month. And there's some different color codes here. We can see what's already been invoiced or approved or in progress with different color codes. And then we also have the pipeline. So in this, we have each of the different phases that might have different probabilities and projected fees based on the weighted forecast. So in here and underneath Solid Developers, we'll see this Velocity HQ project with a 25% probability. And rather than showing the full values, they're being divided by 4 just to have that projection based on that probability and the likelihood of winning. So here we have for each month what we're expected to bill based on all of the work stages or phases that have 100% probability, and then a probability adjusted projection of what's in the pipeline in total to give the total amount there as well. Then if when it comes to other ways in which to see this information, what we can do also is I can take you to my dashboard where I've set up some examples of other ways to see the same data. And I've created some of these reporting examples using the report builder. So if any of you existing clients are interested in these dashboards, that if you don't currently have them, just get in touch and we can help you to build them and share them with you. So here's a multi-page dashboard structure, and this is just all looking at forecasting information. Now, first of all, the forecasted fees at the top are looking at the total numbers of all forecasted fees for projects that are live, i.e. that have been won. And we've got some other examples of looking at potential projects as well. So here we have a total projected amount for Q1 of 1.67 million, slightly less in Q2, and then it sort of tails off in Q3 and Q4. This weighted fee forecast is a similar, showing similar information to that forecast calendar report a moment ago, where it's looking at the total forecasted fees for 100% work stages. And then we have a projected amount of what's in the pipeline. So probability adjusted projections. So our project example that we added is 25%. So that's basically increased the forecast slightly based on those projections. And then this particular dashboard is linked to, in this demo version, a report where we can go in and see more information about which of these projects exactly are making up the 100% and the projected amounts each month, and what's, like I say, what's in the pipeline and what could potentially add to that. There's another dashboard example here where I have weighted project pipeline. So starting in March, the most recent example, Velocity HQ in the blue there, obviously is added to the pipeline. We can see, well, the Prism is a potential big project. We can see that in terms of could start next month, and that has quite a high weighting. Again, if I wanted to see more information about where the Prism is in the pipeline, well, we can see it's a 75% possibility starting next month. So that has some significant potential fees. And again, in somewhere in here, Velocity HQ at the moment is still 25%. So I can go back into Velocity. Perhaps I need to update this. Maybe we need to increase the probability. So a question from Grant that came in, just looking at the Q&A. So we'll cover off some of these questions now. So Grant's asking, can he change all the phases at once? At the moment, you can't. So you have to do them one by one. It would be nice if there was a button just to update all. We have had that feedback before, but it's not currently an option. You cannot, win up until, let's say, construction administration or bidding, which I can do in this example. Let's say we've won this project. We changed the first probability, the second. It is a few clicks, but it does allow you to have different phases that are potential as well as ones that you have won. So in this example now, we can add a subtotal. We can see the total fee one is $312,000 out of the potential 480, and then we will be able to see that now in the actual 100% forecast. And any of these dashboards as well, if you just wanted to see or just 100%, then you can click on any of these to filter them out. So that's something as well. And then again, if I just go into this particular report, we'll see that Velocity HQ now is showing the full amounts now that we have set those work stages to 100%. So that's all you need to do when you get the signed contracts. Of course, you might want to store the contracts in the documents section if you have the documents add-on. But yeah, you would just simply change any potential fees into live project fees just by changing those probabilities. And there are some other forecasting type reports as well, just looking at the timelines and the data. So in the standard reports, we have the staffing prediction report, and that is going to show me information about how many people that we have, and I can do that if I can filter this by team, and how much work we've won and how much is in the pipeline with it, a nice overall line graph. Okay, so this is showing me at this moment we have enough work to keep everybody busy, and there's quite a bit in the pipeline coming, in terms of the immediate term, but then that does sort of tail off. So we will need to try and focus on adding more to the pipeline for the spring and the summer months in this particular instance of CMap. So the solid line is the 100%, i.e. the phases that have been won, and then the dotted line is looking at the information in CMap and the phases that have probabilities of less than 100%. So another question is in sort of Andre's version of CMap, he doesn't have the timeline. So that is something that can be enabled if you can't see the timeline. It may be because your security group, no, if you can't see it, then it will be a feature that just needs to be switched on for your instance. So that's something that we can do for you. It's not something that you can sort of enable actually within the security group. So if you get in touch with us, call support and just ask them to turn the timeline on for you. And that's something that you know, whether you have the AEC edition or the PSA is available for everybody. So the timeline should be, if I go into this project, the Regal, it should be here if it is enabled for your version. Another question is there a way to move all the timeline phases at once? At the moment, the answer is you can't, because there's no dependencies or predecessors built into the timeline functionality at this precise moment. However, we have had quite a lot of feedback to say that clients would like to be able to build in dependencies. So in the example that I shared with you before about extending schematic design by from 4 weeks to 8 weeks, if you have dependencies set up, so 2 must precede 1 and 3 must precede 2 and so on, you can not have dependencies if you've got phases that are overlapping. But that is a feature that will be released this year. I'm led to believe as early as the summer, with there's other resourcing improvements that are being made, but some timeline enhancements like the ability to add predecessors would allow you to, if you extend one phase by 4 weeks, it will automatically push the rest of the project along by 4 weeks automatically. So you wouldn't need to manipulate each individual phase. So yeah, like a group selection, you would be able to do that at some point soon with those enhancements. Okay, so I think that's all the questions that have come in, unless I've missed any. Those are the main topics that I did want to cover today. So I'll just share this as well. So what we've gone through is adding a project using a fee estimator template. The template that I chose was a fee-driven example with a percentage of a construction cost approach. Some of you might prefer to do fee estimating based on projections of hours, in which you would choose a resource-driven template, and then you can plug in the hours against the resource profile, or you could even go into the resourcing and build up the fee based on a work plan. But there's different templates that you can choose to build up the fees. If you just want to start with fixed fees, you can type them in. But because the templates have durations in weeks attached to each work stage and the timeline, it makes it very quick and easy just to auto-populate that fee schedule. And then you would just adjust the probabilities as you go, perhaps you're becoming more confident or less confident that you're going to win the work. And then those probability adjusted projections will show clearly potential fees and actual fees. And then also, do we have enough work to keep everybody busy in the reports, such as the staffing prediction report. So I'll just check again. There have been a couple more questions coming through here. So in terms of, so I wasn't planning, so question from Paul, wasn't planning on going into work in progress in this particular demo, but yes, in terms of looking at that there are certain WIP reports that we can get into, and we can share some of those with you if you wanted to book a separate demo. There are graphs, for example, that if I come out of these slides again, so for example, if I go into here, you can see that we've got the invoicing set up, but in terms of the costs, you can look at the costs versus your invoicing in this graph here. There's other reports that will show the work in progress within. You've got the percentage completes within the budget versus actual that you'd need to update. So that is, I guess, slightly off topic on this particular in this particular live demo, but like I said, we can certainly show you some examples of work in progress. As Andrea again is the AEC resource report is not shown in your version of CMap, and then again that is it's a report that is available for everybody. You don't need to have the pro version of CMap either to have either the timeline or the staffing prediction report. So that is the report, the specific report that you would need to ask for if that's something that you don't currently have. And then another question here from Ianis. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Do you have the option to view 3 projects with program bar charts? The short answer is at the moment, not 3 timelines together on the same report, but we are releasing a major new feature along with some of the resourcing improvements that I mentioned earlier. In the summer, the central planner would allow you to do that if you have the pro version of CMap. So that is something that will be a popular release where you can look at multiple timelines together. So it's more like a project view rather than a people view as a resourcing report, and you will be able to move resources around and look at the timelines together. So yeah, not just one project at a time that you can do at the moment. And in terms of the AEC fee forecast, and combined fee forecast reports, so the forecast calendar I showed you before, the AEC fee forecast report, if I just run that, okay, it's in a different format. So it's basically, in this particular report, it's breaking down the net fee and the additionals. That's the main difference there. So each report shows any additionals. So additionals are consultant fees. In the fee forecast or the forecast calendar, that adds up all of the fees. So if it's net and additional, it will show the total. So it'll show the total billing for each. There are other reports, like for example, in the report builder, that if you just wanted to show the net fees and not the additionals, then again, that's something that we can easily show. And then the combined fee forecast, so the combined invoice and forecast calendar. Okay, so you've got the live projects at the top, so similar to the forecast calendar, and then the pipeline as well. The combined invoice and forecast calendar is the difference between the combined invoice and forecast calendar is the forecast calendar starts with the current month. The combined invoice and forecast calendar starts from the beginning of the calendar year. So it's similar to the invoice calendar that starts at the beginning of the calendar year. So it's basically a combination between the invoice calendar and the forecast calendar, but starting at the beginning of the year rather than the current month. Okay, so gone over by a couple of minutes. Thank you for everybody for hanging on. I will let you go because that is all of the questions now covered. So thank you again for joining. Happy Valentine's Day to you all, and we will talk to you again another time.